technology is great, but to what extent? So I think, I always look at how does this benefit the customer? And that's what it comes down to. If this product, service, or technology doesn't benefit the customer, then is it worth doing? So that's what it comes down to. And so we have to find a great balance in between what we do.
Hello, and welcome to a whole new episode of Engati CX. I'm your host, Kimberly, and we're really glad to have all of you join us today. On the show, we talk to CX and technology experts from around the world. We explore, uncover, and share fresh insights on creating experiences that your customers will remember and look forward to. Engati is the world's leading multilingual, no code digital CX platform available across 14 channels with 45,000 solutions created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as the top platform by Inc. magazine, Tech World, CIO magazine, and many others. We run the Engati blog, the video channel, the Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 400,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest. With over 20 years of experience in hospitality industry and a lifetime of customer service experience, we have Steve DiGioia shares real-world tips and tactics to improve your customer service, increase employee morale, and provide the experience your customers desire. With the tagline of finding ways to wow your customers, Steve continues to pursuit of excellence of his award-winning blog, sharing his best strategies on customer service, management, and leadership. Welcome to the show, Steve. We are so glad to have you join us today.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. It's my pleasure to be here. And that was a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. Hopefully I can live up to that.
Of course. But before we dive into our interview with Steve, don't forget to subscribe to Engati and tap the bell icon to get access to exclusive content coming from leaders from around the globe. Well, Steve, let's dip our toes into the interview. Looking at how technology is kind of making its way into most of businesses' kind of experiences, what is the role of technology and AI in customer management, especially in hospitality?
Well, Kimberly, as you mentioned, I spent, over 20 years in the hotel industry and the hospitality industry in general. And, that industry has always touted itself as being the number one customer service industry in the world, as far as how we make people feel. We try to create memories when somebody comes to our hotel, our restaurant, our cruise ship, depending on the situation. And the service that we provide is in your face. It's direct, one-on-one, face-to-face, employee to customer. And you don't get much more personal than that. And nowadays, with the use of technology, it's changing. It's changing in a way that, old timers like me or more traditionalists are having a hard time getting used to. I remember, probably the beginning of technology in the hotel industry was where you were able to book your hotel reservation online. You can book your entire vacation online. That was great. It would save time. It would save money because you weren't going to the local travel agent who was getting a commission based upon you. So there's some great aspects of that. Nowadays, you can check in your hotel without having to wait online in the lobby of the hotel. You can check in on your phone, on an app, on a kiosk in the hotel lobby. You want room service, you don't have to try to get through the room service agent or the restaurant. You just order on your phone, on the app, or on the TV while you're laying in your bed. So technology is great. The only thing that is a challenge, or one of the downfalls, in my opinion, because I'm one of those old timers and traditionalists, is when we are using, especially initial interactions with a customer or as a guest, as we call them, when technology is your primary factor, the customer loses an opportunity to have their experience enhanced by that customer service agent. As an example, someone's checking into a hotel and now you're walking up to the front desk of that hotel. Well, that customer service agent can see how that person acts, how they're walking. Are they having a problem? Are they have some type of a challenge? So one of the first questions that would come out, the hotel guest agent would say, you don't bring up what the problem may be, but you will say, I can give you a room closer to the elevator. Will that be a benefit to you? Or would you like the room on the first floor potentially? And that's something that doesn't come across on a chatbot or online. Technology can't necessarily notice that. as well. Technology can't, depending on what's being used, you may not be able to tailor a particular amenity that the property can offer to that guest based upon conversation that you've had. So I think there's an opportunity for the hotel to lose revenue because we can't tailor an experience, a product or service to that guest based upon our conversation. And the guest loses an opportunity to maybe have something tailored to them from that same conversation. So technology is great, AI is great. It's just a matter of how we use it, and we still can't lose that personalized aspect of it.
Correct. I completely agree with what you've said. But talking, like you've mentioned a couple of drawbacks, a couple of roadblocks here. But how can brands attract and retain committed customers during this customer service crisis?
Well, especially with the whole pandemic that we're thankfully starting to come out of now,
Mhm.
uh, people are dying, my opinion, are dying for that escape. We spend too much time in our home. We all know that. Everybody has done that. And so they're looking to be able to get out. That's why restaurants now has been an explosion, at least in our country, has been an explosion of restaurant field because people want to get out. And what the easiest and the most simplest way to get out is either going to a movie or going to a restaurant, going to a bar. And uh, we miss, we don't miss technology. I think we're missing that interaction. So what I think brands have to do is right now, as you mentioned, at this customer service crisis, I think we have to not rely now on so much on technology to be able to bring clients in, bring customers, bring our guests in. I think we should maybe take a step back a little bit and try to get back to that personalized aspect, that interaction. Because what happens is, remember when technology first starts, the first person who has the finances, who has the means to be able to start using more technology, they have the advantage. So people start to gravitate toward that business or that industry. But now as AI and as technology starts becoming more and more affordable and it's open to more people, we are losing that technology advantage that we may have had. And so we all become the same as our competition down the road. Sure, the building is different, the food may be slightly different, the cruise ship maybe look different, but that advantage that we once had from technology is not quite there anymore. So I think that in order to be able to not only retain the existing customers, but to enhance our client base, we for now we have to kind of get back to that personalized service, that one-on-one, well, because people want that. 2, 3 years from now, I think it may be a little bit different. But right now, we need to feel special. We need to look into the eyes of someone who is servicing us and believe that they really care about our best interest at heart. That's rule number one. And again, you don't get that with that static app or online. And so we have to I think we need to take a step back right now and get the personalized relationship back while we're building our technology behind the scenes and using that to get our data points, to get the information that we need as the foundation. And then we can enhance that as time goes on.
Yes, I think it is time to go back to rule number one, and things that we used to do before technology happened was actually, stand at the door and welcome the
Yes,
guest, right? That is something that's
correct.
missing. Correct.
Sure,
So
sure.
talking about how technology and customer experiences kind of had a shift here, what do you think? Has it had a positive or a negative impact on customer cultures in organizations?
I've seen it create, I'll say uh, a negative situation. And what I mean by that is here, there's always good and bad on every side. We all understand that. Today's younger employees, whether you want to call them millennials or anything else, their whole life is based upon technology. I'm old enough to remember when there was no cell phones, and I mention that to my kids. I have two daughters, and they look at me like, Steve, Dad, what are you talking about? You know, it's always cell phones. No, there wasn't always cell phones on it. It was an old phone that was on the wall in the kitchen, and that was the only phone that you had in the entire house if you were lucky. Right? I remember those old days. So, but the younger clientele who is now again trying to get out, trying to make a life for themselves, is they understand for them the value of technology because frankly that's all that they really know. They may not have that one-on-one relationship with a service provider because we're changing, our industry is changing, all industries are changing. So they may look at the people who are more traditional and say, why don't you get with the program, why don't you get with the times, look what we can do with our technology, look all the information I can get, it's cheaper, it saves us money, it's more advanced, and this is the wave of the future. Why don't you folks understand that? Whereas the folks that are a little bit, a little bit older, or maybe not don't focus on technology as much, they only know the opposite. They know that personalized service, business was done with a handshake years ago, as opposed to 50-page contracts. And so they have a hard time understanding why this group of people don't want to interact with somebody one-on-one, where they want the initial conversation or initial meeting to be online, and then, two, three connections later is when I can finally pick up the phone and I can have a conversation with them. And so it creates almost a silo. It can create a silo in between where the two groups are both correct, but they need to understand the benefits of each side of it. So it really comes down to the leadership being able to bring these two groups together, assuming it happens, and let them understand, listen, this is the wave of the future, but we can never forget our core clientele that, the older clientele may also have a little bit more money to spend, more free money to spend. I know it's a different word for it. So that's what we need to still tailor to them while taking care of the new group of clientele that is more open to technology. So that's where, the shifts will happen. It's just a matter to us to how we manage them.
Very well put. You spoke about how technology is kind of becoming a roadblock and how it's just some static kind of an interface, right? But now technology is a kind of moving into more being conversational. So do you think if conversational automation can actually provide scalability, flexibility, and reduce the chances of human errors here? What do you think?
Well, anytime you take the humans out, obviously you'll get rid of the errors. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but if we rely on technology too much, I think similar to my first comment that I first made is you lose opportunities because yes, it's more conversational based. It's not that robotic, one sentence at a time because of AI of how they've been able to adapt. And so people do understand that I'm not speaking to a robot, but they also know I'm not speaking to a live person. This chatbot that popped up or is a machine. And
Mhm.
frankly, for me, again, I come from a little different school. I'd rather speak to a live person. But sometimes even to do that, you do pick up a phone and you may have to go through 6, 7 different phone prompts to be able to get to the person who could be able to help you. So everything is scalable. It is cost effective. You lose some of the waste that happens with the traditional way of doing it. It just we have to weigh the benefits of technology as our initial contact, in my opinion, and as opposed to focusing on that too much for all the steps. Because once again, in the hospitality industry, we go out for many reasons. We shop for price, we shop for experience, we shop for something new that we can't get anywhere else. And I think that if we increase the availability of our technology to a point where that is my only interaction other than sitting in front of somebody in a restaurant, as an example, we lose the opportunity. And people, I think we're going to start going back to that one-on-one personalized service. Yes, Your customer relationship manager software, that's fantastic. You can get so much information out of people, and that will help you down the road. It will help you market to your new clientele, to your existing clientele. You can upsell, you can find ways of getting them to return. But once again,
Mhm.
it has to be in a way that there has to be a mix, and so that's what I fear with getting too technology focused.
Yes, you've completely kind of touched on how important it is to have a balance of life support as well as technology. You've kind of given us an overview of anything, but I would like to ask you to go in detail as to what do you think of self-service options in terms of technology here.
Well, I think, especially if we want to try to encourage people to use more self-service options, because there is a cost savings to do that. We all understand that. Uh, we have to let the customers know what are the benefits to them. Remember, it's all about what's in it for me, with them. That we've all heard that term plenty of times. And for me to be able to become part of the process, as an example, you go to your supermarket to go buy food. Well, now you have just as many, if not more, self checkout lanes as you do checkout lanes where there's a manned person there. Well, there's a benefit. Many people love them, and I use them most of the time, to be honest with you. Uh, but for the average person that maybe doesn't feel too sure about that, what is the benefit to me by using the self-service checkout? Is it cost effective? Not necessarily. You're charging me the same price to do that, so I might as well go to the man station. If you're going to give people a discount for using some self-service option, well, that's a way to encourage the use of that. If your self-service allows for more flexibility in when you can buy something, when you can return something, well, that is a way of encouraging the customers to use that. Because once again, why does any business do more self-service options? Well, a big part of it is cost. Yeah, there's initial cost to be able to install the systems, obviously, but the as each day goes on, you're saving as a man person or persons doing that and all the costs associated with that. So there has to be a reason. There has more than just doing that. Is if this is what your clientele wants, if this is where the that faction of your customers are heading to because they like the technology, they like the empowerment aspect of it, great. But then again, if you have another group of people, maybe a group that a little bit older, or people that may come from an area that is not as technologically advanced, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. So their self-serve options are- aren't benefited how that we believe that they would be. Once again, but it has to be flexible, it has to be price sensitive, it has to be available. And if there aren't, there's no benefit for me to be able to use self-service.
Completely agreed, Steve. You said it best. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? Anything we missed?
Well, I think I touched on a little bit. I'm a strong believer that, again, as you can probably guess, I'm not that I'm not a fan of technology, but I spent my whole career, even before I got into the hospitality industry, of trying to understand people's emotions. The words that they use, particular words for a reason. And read between the lines. Look at people's body language. Look at how they approach you. What words can we say to make them feel better about the situation or to enhance their experience? And regardless of what technology we use, there will be that time when you are face to face or over the phone with somebody, and we can't lose that opportunity to connect with someone. And if we rely too much on technology, I think we're leaving so much on the table, revenue and experience. And that's what it comes down to. We shop for our needs, our primal needs, or we shop to find a new experience. And technology is great, but to what extent? So I think, I always look at how does this benefit the customer? And that's what it comes down to. If this product, service, or technology doesn't benefit the customer, then is it worth doing? So that's what it comes down to. And so we have to find a great balance in between what we do. I'm customer focused, and I
Yeah.
try to always, put myself in, if I'm going to do this, how would that make me feel if I'm on the receiving end of this situation?
Yes. Yes, that's
Uh-huh.
a nice way to put it while we talk about balance of technology and having personalized stuff in terms of a human touch. Thank
Mhm.
you so much, Steve, for giving us your time. Your insights were really valuable. And I know our audience is going to enjoy this interview as much as I did.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and I hope to see you again soon.
Definitely. We'll see you back again with a new episode and a brand new expert soon. So stay tuned and we'll see you around for the next one.